Hey, what's going on, everybody? So we just wrapped up watching the sixth practice. We were able to do interviews afterwards. Head coach Manny Diaz spoke for the first time since the first day, so that was good. Got some updates there. And then as well as players, Charleston Rambo, Cameron Harris, and Tyreek Stevenson. I will get to some of those things, but first I want to talk about some of the observations I had. So the media today was able to watch about 45 minutes of practice. We were able to film about half of that. And I think there were a few things that stood out to me. First off, the running backs. Unfortunately, I wanted to take a look at them a little bit more, but unfortunately, Don Chaney Jr. and Cameron Harris were both in red jerseys, which means they were limited in some drills. They were able to do some things. They were in full pads, but they just weren't able to do the full contact stuff. Today, again, they were in full pads. So they weren't able to do everything. Jalen Knighton took the first team reps there. What we saw with 11-on-11 action, I thought was a very good sign. Will Mallory caught about a 30-yard pass, maybe it was closer to 40, from De'Aaron King up the left sideline for a score. And I felt like that was a good sign because, look, we've seen Will do well in practice or catch passes with big yards, but I thought it was really good just to see that on the sideline as opposed to only in the middle of the field, which sometimes tight ends, that's where they do a lot of their damage. But I thought it was good that he was able to get up there, and also De'Aaron threw a good ball. Really did a good job of placing it, and I know many of you are hoping De'Aaron does throw the ball better downfield. I don't think that's going to be that big of an issue. I feel like sometimes, you know, he touched on it last year of why it was a little bit off, weren't able to work with the guys as much, and also you're not taking a ton of deep shots. So the percentages can certainly not go in your favor if you're not taking a bunch of them and it not working out. But I think they've got the speed on the outside at receiver to get some big plays, and I do think there's some pass catching ability out of the three backs that they will be using as well. But let's stay on the wide receivers. Look, after the first week, I think it's becoming pretty clear that Keyshawn Smith is certainly in that mix to be one of those top three receivers, because each and every day that we've been out here, he's been with that top group. And not just that he's out there, and certainly things can change before the first game. Everyone knows that. They're going to have their first scrimmage in a few days. But I think what's standing out to me is that Keyshawn's not only out there, but whenever we're out there, he's doing well. You know, he doesn't have the drops. He's making plays. He's getting downfield. He's making catches. So not only is he out there, but he's taking advantage of his opportunity. And I think that's why he's going to stay up there. I know it's only 3 days in, or 1 week in, and there's still about 3 weeks left. But I do think the three receivers for Miami primarily will be Mike Harley, Charleston Rambo, and Keyshawn Smith. I don't see it changing, to be honest. I know like I said, there's time. It just definitely feels like it's going to be those three guys. And speaking with Charleston Rambo afterwards, and one of the things that stood out to me from the spring when we were able to talk to him through Zoom, he talked about, like, pretty honest about the 2019 season he had, which was pretty productive, and then obviously his production dropped last year at Oklahoma. And he said he knows that's a question mark. Will he be able to get back to form? And my question to Charleston was just, bringing up that he mentioned that, but also, how does he feel with his confidence going, where it's at right now? And this is common for players, but he's definitely said, confidence isn't an issue, that he's always confident. But he said, look, I feel better. I feel like I'm going to be better than I was in 2019. So he's feeling better. He feels like also he had a good summer and improving himself, with his physical attributes as well. So he feels confident, he feels good. Once again, he's making plays out there, and Mike Harley as well. So staying with the offense, though, and the reason why I wanted to talk about the running backs going into it, I wish we could have got a little bit better look at those guys being healthy, but unfortunately that's just not what it was today. But asking Cameron Harris, or just kind of seeing the questions that were asked with him, how he feels. He says he feels great physically, and honestly, once again, we do hear that, especially coming off the off season. But for me, he does look bigger in the upper body, particularly, and I think that's good for a running back. If he can maintain his speed and his agility, all those things with his feet, and then just maybe take on a little bit more contact, those kind of things I think can be good. But he definitely looks good physically, particularly in the upper body, and he certainly seemed happy today, confident. I thought that was a good sign as well. So definitely would like to see more of them. I definitely want to pay close attention to him, because this is the first day that we've seen Cam in the red, and this is the second day in a row that we've seen Don in the red. So as you guys know, Don was dealing with shoulder surgery in the off season. He did participate in the practices that we were at the beginning, but now a little bit slowed. I asked Coach Diaz about those two running backs, And he didn't want to say when they'll be back, but he does feel confident they'll be back soon, and when they'll be able to take hits essentially whenever the doctors say. So take that for what it's worth. But I do think it's a good sign that they are both moving well. And they didn't disclose what the injury is with Cam. But it'll be interesting to see how they do moving forward. Definitely want to keep an eye on, especially with Don. So another thing I want to mention real quick, just today was the first practice for Sam Brooks, dealing with the toe injury. And not only that he was out there in the drills that we watched, but he was moving around pretty good, at times. So, but he did do the drills, and I thought that was good that he's out here. And another thing too that Coach Diaz mentioned, he was asked about, Sam, Cam, and then with Don, and as well as Zion Nelson. Those 4 players, will they be ready? Do you think they'll be ready for the opener? And Coach Diaz definitely said that he definitely feels like they will. So take that for what it's worth. But he definitely spoke pretty adamantly about them being ready for the opener. So Sam Brooks moved around a little bit. It'll be interesting. I'm curious if Sam's got enough time this fall to really earn a lot of playing time for the opener. I'm a little bit hesitant to say he will be because of the time he's missed, but there is still time, and if he can continue to have good practices and productive practices. But I do think that there's just other guys that they can go to right now, and if I were to guess, I would say that I'd give the advantage to these other guys that have been around and have more experience at this point in the season going into it. So certainly Sam's going to be one to watch. There's no doubt about that. I just wonder about how much he'll be able to play in that opener, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. Another guy on defense who was out here for the first time was Malik Curtis, a freshman cornerback out of Fort Myers. Some people have been wondering if he's going to play receiver, where he'll play, but he was definitely working out at cornerback today. He had his helmet on, but he didn't have on the full pads like the rest of the team. He's got to get acclimated there. So he will be one to watch in the return game particularly. They've got other guys they can go to in the cornerback room. But this is a big year just for Malik's development. Like I said, he can be used on special teams. As far as the cornerbacks go, one of the things that I find very interesting about this group, and I asked Tyreek Stevenson about this afterwards, was just the main guys that they should be relying on with experience. I feel like they all bring something a little bit different to the table. Tyreek Stevenson, obviously the transfer from Georgia, has a good size, physical corner, and he said this is kind of how he feels, and he likes being physical. So I think that's a good sign. It's not just that he's capable of doing it, but he actually likes doing it. So, and quick note, Tyreek said he actually is working a little bit at nickel during practices right now, in addition to the outside. So obviously he came to Miami, wanted to be on the outside a little bit more than he was at Georgia, and he is, but he is also working in at nickel. So look for him in packages there. I don't expect that to change because he does bring that element. But just with the other corners, Corey Couch is the quickest of the group. He's a little bit smaller than the other guys. DJ Ivey, a little bit good, a little bit better size. Stevenson said that DJ's just real smooth with his technique and stuff. So, and then Al Blades, just kind of an all-around guy when he's going to be healthy and out there. But we saw him do some position drills once again today. So I think the 4 of them bring something different to the table, and I think that's important to have that versatility to go in against different receivers. Miami's not always had that. And I know Corey did get playing time last year, but I just think another full year under his belt, I think he's going to be, certainly in that mix, and certainly he could play quite a bit or even more than any other corners, depending on how things are going with his season. So those are just a few things with the injuries that I wanted to touch on. And then I do want to talk a little about D'Eriq King. Once again, we saw that good pass. I do think that it's almost a given that you're just, what to expect with D'Eriq, but I think he's doing well. When we watch him in position drills, he's moving well with his feet, his footwork. He's doing a good job with his agility and his quickness. And also, like I said, the pass to Mallory just showed that his accuracy is there. And I think he's got a chance to, really have a better season than he had a year ago. So definitely he's doing well. And I don't want to forget about him just because he's a guy that's returning. And like I said, from the beginning, the way everybody's been talking about, he's not worried about the injury and things like that. So I don't want to forget to talk about the starting quarterback, but he's definitely doing well. And he's looking good when we've been out here. He's not having bad reps or bad sequences or anything like that from what we've seen. So the other thing I'd like to mention, kind of going back to some injuries, just with Zion Nelson, it's just one to watch for. It just looks a little bit slowed being out there. Certainly they've got other guys they can go to, but they're certainly counting on Zion to be a main guy. So we will see how that progresses. And anything else that progresses, we'll certainly deliver that. All the content on InsideTheU.com. As always, definitely appreciate everything and everybody for watching. And also, just before we get out of here, I'd like to just kind of give a short message. Just, you know, be sure to check in on your people, see how they're doing, make sure they're doing okay, and you know, it's okay to not be okay. I just like to deliver that message. So appreciate everybody.